Let me ask you a question, and I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. If I walked up to one of your best potential customers right now and asked them, why should you buy from this company instead of their competitor? What would they say? And more importantly, would their answer be any different than what your competitors' customers would say? Because here's the thing. I've spent over 30 years working with companies from startups all the way up to Fortune 500 companies. And I can tell you that the number one messaging mistake I see over and over again is this. Everybody sounds exactly the same. We have great people. We deliver exceptional service. We're committed to quality. Sound familiar? Of course it does, because your competitors are saying the exact same thing. Today, I'm going to show you how to fix that. I'm going to walk you through a framework I call the Brand House, a step-by-step system for building messaging that actually differentiates you, actually resonates with your customers, and actually drives growth. Stay with me. This one is worth your time. I'm Rich Smith, Chief Marketing Officer, founder, growth advisor, and host of the Revenue Science Podcast. I've spent 3 decades applying the science of human behavior to marketing and revenue strategy. Everything I share here is grounded in real-world results and real science. No fluff, no jargon, just what actually works. If you're a CEO, a founder, or a senior leader trying to grow your company, especially if you're in that $3 million to $30 million revenue range where every dollar of marketing has to count, this channel is built for you. Let's get into it. Section 1, the problem, why most company messaging fails. So let's start with the fundamental problem. Most companies, when asked to describe themselves, default to what I call table stakes messaging. Things that are probably true. You do have great people. You do care about quality, but they're so generic, so expected, that they actually don't move anyone to action. Think about banks for a second. Every single bank on the planet advertises great rates and low fees. Every single one. So what happens? The messages cancel each other out. Nobody believes any of them. Consumers tune it out completely. The same thing is happening in your industry right now. And this creates a massive, costly problem for your business. Because if a potential customer can't immediately understand why you're the right choice for them specifically, they default to one of 2 things. They either go with whomever they already know, or they go with whoever is cheapest. Neither of those outcomes is a great outcome for you. So the question is, how do you break through? How do you create messaging that actually lands? The answer starts with understanding something that most business leaders never think about: how human beings actually make decisions. Section 2, the science, how people really make decisions. Here's where it gets really interesting. And I promise this is not going to be a boring science lecture. This is going to change how you think about your customers forever. There's a Nobel Prize-winning economist and psychologist named Daniel Kahneman. He wrote a famous book called Thinking Fast and Slow, and his research essentially blew up everything that we thought we knew about how people make decisions. Here's the core idea. We like to think we're rational creatures who carefully weigh our options and make logical choices. But science says we're not even close. Kahneman discovered that we essentially have 2 different operating systems running in our brain at all times. System 1 is what I call the primal brain. It's ancient. We're talking 500 million years of evolution. It's fast. It's automatic. It's always on. And its primary job is survival. This is the part of your brain that makes gut decisions, that reacts emotionally, that says yes or no before you've even consciously processed a question. System 2 is the rational brain. This is the part we typically think of as us, the logical, deliberate, analytical mind that can reason through complex problems. It's slower. It requires more effort. And here's the kicker. it actually burns a significant amount of energy in the form of glucose to operate. So what does our brain do? It takes shortcuts. It lets system one, the fast, emotional, automatic brain, handle as much as possible and only brings system two online when it absolutely has to. Now, here's the number that should change your entire approach to marketing. 95% of all decision making happens in the unconscious brain, system one. Only 5% is truly conscious and rational. Think about what that means for your messaging. If you're only crafting logical arguments, features, specs, processes, credentials, you're talking to the 5% of the decision-making brain. You're almost completely missing the part that actually drives action. Customers will tell you they buy based on logic. They give you rational reasons, but the real driver, 95% of the time, is emotional. It's fear, it's pain, it's the desire to feel safe, to feel smart, to feel like they made the right call. And there's one more piece of science I want to share here because it has direct implications for how you position your value. Kahneman and his colleague Amos Tversky did a series of experiments on how people experience gains versus losses. What they found is this: the pain of losing something is about 2.3 times more powerful than the pleasure of gaining something equivalent. They called this the loss aversion ratio. What does this mean practically? It means if your product or service costs someone $10,000 in money, time, risk, or disruption, the value you communicate needs to feel like at least $23,000 in benefit, not just in hard dollars, but in peace of mind, competitive advantage, risk reduction, and whatever else matters to them. You've got to overcome the fear of loss before you can win the sale. This is why generic messaging fails. Great service doesn't do the emotional heavy lifting your customers need to feel confident buying from you, but a well-built brand house does. Section 3, the framework, building your brand house. Okay, now let's build something. The brand house is a messaging framework made up of 3 elements: your customers' pain points, your differentiated claims, and your proof that those claims are real. Layer those together strategically, and you get a roof, your overarching brand statement that sits on top of the 3 supporting pillars. Let me walk you through each step of building this. Step 1, know exactly who you're talking to. Before you write a single word of messaging, you need to get crystal clear on who your ideal customer is. Not just their job title, not just their industry, about getting inside their world. For business-to-business companies, that means understanding things like what industry are they in? How big is their company? What technology do they use? And most importantly, what keeps them up at night? What are they afraid of? What are they trying to prove to their board, their boss, or their own team? For consumer companies, it's similar but more personal. Age, income, lifestyle, values, and the specific frustrations that your product or service can solve. The goal here is to stop thinking about your customers as a vague, generic market and start thinking about them as real human beings with real fears and real pressures. Step 2, identify who actually makes the buying decision. This is especially important for mid-sized companies selling to other businesses. In any organization, there are people who have a stake in the outcome of buying your product and people who are just part of the process. You want to focus your messaging on the people who actually care about the result, the senior leader who's accountable for the outcome, the person who will look good or bad based on whether this decision works. Here's a tip. Go back through your actual sales history. Look at who was involved in your wins and your losses, not who you think was involved, who actually was. The data almost always tells a different story than memory does. Step 3, get to the real pain. This is the most important step, and it's the one most companies skip completely. You need to play doctor. You need to diagnose the real pain your customer is experiencing, not just the surface level problem they describe, but the underlying fear that's driving it. There's a difference between we have trouble generating enough leads and I'm terrified that if we don't hit our revenue targets this year, I'm going to lose my job. One is a logical problem. The other is a visceral emotional fear. And one of those is going to motivate action a lot more than the other. Your job is to identify your customers' top 3 core pains. And for each one, name the fear underneath it. Is it financial fear? Is it fear of being left behind by competitors? Fear of looking foolish in front of their leadership team? Fear of wasting money on something that won't work? Name the fear. Then you can speak to it. If you don't already know your customers' deep pain points, go find out. Talk to them. Run surveys. Dig into your CRM notes from sales conversations. Listen to sales calls. The information is there. You just have to look for it. Step 4, define what makes you different. Now, here's the step that trips up almost every business leader I've ever worked with. They know their product is good. They know their team is talented. But when I ask them, what makes you truly different? They either go blank or they fall back on those same generic phrases we talked about at the beginning. So let me give you a different way to think. Ask yourself, what are we the best at? The first, the only company that does. And here's the key. You get to define what the world means when you answer that question. You don't have to be the best CRM software company in the entire world. Maybe you're the only CRM built specifically for independent insurance brokers in the southeastern United States. That's a world. And in that world, you might absolutely be the best, the first, or the only. Get creative with how you define your niche. The narrower and more specific your claim, the more credible and differentiated it becomes, and the more powerfully it speaks to the exact customer you're trying to reach. Your differentiated claims need to be 2 things, original and provable. If your competitors can say the same thing, it doesn't count. If you can't back it up, it won't hold up. Step 5, build your proof. So let's say you've got a powerful differentiated claim. Now you have to prove it because your customers' System 1 brains are already in skeptic mode. They've been burned by overpromising before and they know it. Proof comes in a few forms and they're not all created equal. The most powerful proof is social proof, testimonials from real customers, not the generic great company to work with kind, but specific results-driven stories. Before working with Rich, we were generating 20 leads a month. Within 6 months, we're at 80. That kind of specificity is credible. That kind of specificity changes minds. Next most powerful is experiential proof, demonstrations, free trials, live case studies. Let the customer experience the value before committing. Then you've got analytical proof, data, case studies, awards, third-party research. Numbers are powerful. Companies that implement our process see an average of 47% improvement in close rates. Is a lot more compelling than we help companies grow. And the least powerful, though still useful, is aspirational proof. Your vision, your values, your commitment to a future state. It matters, but it can't carry the whole argument. Remember that loss aversion ratio. Your proof has to make the perceived value feel more than twice as large as the perceived cost. Not just the price tag, all of the cost. The time investment, the risk of change, the fear of disruption. One creative approach I love, if you have a client where multiple people in their organization have experienced your work, get testimonials from several of them. When a prospective buyer sees the VP of sales, the head of marketing, and the CEO of the same company all independently saying the same thing, that's incredibly powerful. It shows deep integration and real impact. Step 6, define your why, the roof of your brand house. So once you've built your pillars, your pains, your differentiated claims, your proof, you need to cap it all with your overarching brand statement, the roof of your brand house. This is the single most important thing you want people to remember about you. It's your answer to who you are and why you exist. This isn't a mission statement exercise, although it might align with your mission. It's your meta claim, the one big idea that everything else supports. It should be simple, it should be memorable, and it should be all about your customer, not about you. Step 7, make it stick. Here's the step most companies never get to, and it's arguably the most important one. You can do everything I've described perfectly. You can nail your pains, your claims, your proof, your why. But if your messaging isn't memorable, it doesn't reach that system 1 primal brain. It will still underperform. The goal now is to take all of that strategic thinking and translate it into language that sticks, language that feels almost automatic, language that your customer remembers even when they're not actively thinking about you. A few principles for this. First, write in the language of you and your, not we and our. Your customers don't care about your company. I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. They care about their problems, their goals, and their lives. So write your messaging from their perspective. You deserve a partner who makes every marketing dollar count, will always outperform. We provide high ROI marketing solutions. Second, use contrast. The brain is wired to notice what's different. If everyone in your industry is saying X, be the one who says the opposite of X and back it up. Third, simplicity wins. Remember, engaging the rational brain costs energy. The simpler and clearer your message, the less work you're asking your customer to do, and the more likely they are to receive it. And fourth, if you can make it rhyme, do it. I know that sounds almost silly, but there's a real cognitive bias called rhyme as reason. Things that rhyme are literally perceived as more true and more credible. If the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. That's a real thing. So if you can find a catchy rhythmic way to summarize your core message, it will stick in your customer's mind in a way that a plain sentence simply won't. Section 4, the brand house structure, putting it all together. So let's look at what you've just built. Picture an actual house. The roof is your meta claim, who you are and why you exist. Holding that roof up are 3 pillars. Pillar 1, what you do. Pillar 2, the specific things you deliver and the evidence that backs it up. Pillar 3, your unique selling points. The things only you can claim, proven, and specific. Everything lives within this house. Your website copy, your sales deck, your trade show booth, your LinkedIn profile, your pitch to a new prospect. Every piece of messaging your company produces should be traceable back to this framework. This is what consistency looks like. This is what brand equity is built on. And once you have it, something remarkable happens. Your salespeople start saying the same thing. Your marketing starts reinforcing your sales conversations. Your customers start telling other people about you in the exact language you want them to use. The whole machine starts working together. Section 5, the most important question. Let me leave you with the question that I find is hardest for most leaders to answer, but the most important. What are you the best, the first, the fastest, the cheapest, or the only at in the world you define? That question is the engine of your entire brand house. Everything else builds from the answer to that question. And I want to encourage you, don't play small here. Don't say, we're not the best at anything, because I promise you that's not true. You just haven't found the right lens to look through yet. Maybe you're the only firm that combines behavioral science and financial marketing strategy. Maybe you're the fastest at onboarding mid-market clients in your specific software category. Maybe you're the only local option in a market dominated by national players who don't understand the nuances of your community. Your niche is out there. Your differentiated claim is real. You just need to find it, own it, and prove it. That's what your brand house is for. All right, let's recap what we covered today. We talked about why generic messaging fails and how it's actually costing you the revenue right now. We dug into the science of how people really make decisions, emotionally first, rationally second, and why your messaging needs to speak to the 95% of the brain that's actually driving the bus. And we talked through every step of building your brand house, from identifying your ideal customer and their real pain, to crafting differentiated claims and proving them, to making your message memorable and emotionally resonant. This framework works. I've seen it work at companies doing 2 million a year and companies doing 2 billion a year. The principles are the same because human beings are human beings. Now, here's what I want you to do. Step 1, hit the like button if this was valuable. It helps other people find this content. Step 2, subscribe if you're not already. Every week I publish content just like this, applying behavioral science to real marketing and growth challenges. Step 3, drop a comment below and tell me, what's the hardest part of building your brand messaging? Is it finding your differentiated claim, identifying your customer's real pain, getting your whole team aligned? Tell me where you're stuck and I'll address it in a future video. And step 4, if you want to go deeper on this, if you want to actually work through building your brand house with a guide who's done this dozens of times, reach out to me directly. You can find me on LinkedIn and at richmsmith.com. I'd love to talk. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.